Okay, the table is yours.
So today we're gonna talk about family support. Like, what was it like growing up deaf in a mostly hearing family? So when you were younger, when did your parents first notice that you were having trouble with hearing, and how old were you? How did they react to it?
Well, it's different than you because going into it, my dad was deaf and my grandmother, his mother, was deaf. In his family, it's only him and his mother, and I think he's one of 8 or 9 kids. So he was the only one with his mom growing up that was deaf. So I think they knew it was a possibility and they didn't really care, right? They knew it was a possibility, but my brothers weren't. So if it happened, it happened. And if it didn't, it didn't. So they kind of were, I think, already watching for the signs of it. And my mom told me they didn't test back then in the hospital for it. So it's not like they did the testing there and they found out. I think they just took me home and probably have noticed that I wasn't hearing all the things and maybe I was sleeping through things. And, you know, I think they just kind of figured out then and there. And I think maybe once I went into preschool, kindergarten too, uh, I think it would really, I think the teacher kind of said, hey, there's something not quite right, maybe go testing. And but I think my parents knew. I think they just didn't really opt to do anything about it. So that's my story. What about yours?
So like when they found out, they weren't too like surprised or anything.
For me, for like my family, no. I think because my dad was, I think they were watching for the signs and I think they saw the signs and I think it was just, oh, she's deaf too. It wasn't like a big deal. It wasn't necessarily a shock. It was just, okay, we had, it was like a 50-50 chance. It wasn't like they were shocked or anything by it. They were just kind of like, okay, right? Like they had like a very small reaction to it. I don't want to say they had a negative reaction, but they didn't necessarily have a positive reaction. It was just what it was. What about you?
Yeah.
When did you
So
find out? When did your parents find out?
so you know how there's like a certain age where babies are supposed to start talking, say like 1, 2 words, whatever. But apparently I started talking later than normal. So my mom thought like, oh, there's something wrong with her speech or something or her hearing. So she took me to a doctor. I might have been 2 or 3 years old. But when she took me to the doctor was like, it's completely normal. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So she took me home and didn't do any hearing test or anything. And then my hearing came up when, like, same as you, like, probably preschool. When the teacher noticed that I wasn't following instructions and stuff as well as the other kids were, I was constantly just looking around and trying to copy what everyone else was doing because I didn't know what was going on. Probably like 4 or 5 years old when I was diagnosed as hard of hearing or hearing impaired is what they usually call it. And for my parents' reaction, I don't know. I'm assuming they felt sorry for me because, like, they're all hearing, they don't understand. And when I was growing up, my mom always told me that, like, if she could switch hearing with me, she would. Like, if that was an actual thing, and I wanted it to be a thing, I wanted to switch hearing with her because I hated struggling to hear. And I wanted to know what it was like. So, like, that was not very good on my confidence. It made
Yeah.
me feel sorry for myself. So, yeah.
How do you think you would have felt and your upbringing would have been if your parents never said things like that and instead they made you feel good about it and proud and that you're special, you're perfect, you're amazing? How do you think you would have grown up with the realization that you were deaf? Do you think it would have been
Maybe grown up more confident because But I was told, like, sorry, I feel bad. I was like, it made me feel bad about myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it took a toll on my confidence. It probably would have helped, like growing up in a deaf family, like the kids that grow up in deaf families, they're confident because their parents tell them, like, you can do what you can do anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, like teachers at school, my parents saying sorry and not understanding how to help me, it didn't help.
Yeah. My parents never necessarily said things like, if I could take it away, I would. I'm so sorry. They never made comments like that. They just never spoke about it, right? It was just not something, it was known that my dad was deaf and I was deaf, but nobody talked about it. It was just not something that we talked about, right? And my dad never wore hearing aids. It was just don't say anything about it. It wasn't something that we talked about. So I think that's where I get my whole I don't wear hearing aids. I don't talk about it. I'm not proud of it. I don't share it. I just pretend like it's not there. I wish they would have spoken about it more, because maybe that would have given me more confidence about it. But they just never spoke about it. They weren't negative or positive. They were just neutral on it.
So, did having your dad as someone who's hard of hearing and has hearing aids, did that help you have someone to look up to growing up in?
No, because he never spoke about it. It was just not something that was talked about or spoken about. It was just not a priority. It was nothing special. It was just not spoken about. I wished he would have spoken to me about it because then I could have looked up to him and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess in a way I did look up to them because they're my parents, but because he didn't wear hearing aids and he didn't talk about it, that was what I looked up to and that's what I saw and that's what I thought was normal, right? And so that's exactly how I am today. Sorry, what?
So, do you think your dad has like some sense of shame about being deaf,
I don't know.
or he just doesn't care
I don't
about
know. I don't want to say shame. I don't think shame's the right word necessarily. I should talk to him about it and ask him about it. Um, but now, like, he had no problem saying it necessarily if he was out in public or if he was with his friends and he didn't hear it. He'd be like, hey, he would make a joke about not hearing them and being deaf, right? So I don't think it was a shame thing. Everybody knew and it was just what it was. I don't think it was a shame thing. I think he just didn't care, to be honest, right? Like, he did have hearing aids throughout my childhood growing up, but he would always lose them and break them and he didn't care and he never took care of them. It wasn't a big deal. It just, I don't think shame's the right word. I just don't think he cared and it wasn't a priority for him. So
interesting. Like his hearing probably isn't that bad, but he feels the need to talk about it.
I don't know. It's gotten worse as he's gotten older. Um, so now he does have hearing aids and he does wear them and he takes care of them. And if he can't find them, he freaks out and everybody looks for them. Uh, so that's why I just don't think shame's the right word. But I think it might have instilled shame in me seeing him not wearing them, not talking about it, nothing. I think maybe that could have put shame on me in me and made me feel embarrassed about it, perhaps.
Did you ever try asking him about it?
Not really. It, I wish I could, but it's something that is so hush hush in our house that I'm almost uncomfortable to bring it up, right? It's almost like a taboo thing. I mean, it's getting better now that he's older and he wears them, but it's such a hush hush topic that I'm almost like, oh, I don't really want to bring it up or talk about it. I mean, but we make jokes all the time. Like, sorry, we're deaf, can't hear you, but we're family and we're close. Well, close-ish. But
But you guys make deaf jokes, so that's interesting.
I mean, between each other as a family, yes. Right. And I know Ryan, my brother, will make a lot of jokes about it too. Because we're very loud and aggressive and mean to each other, and we laugh at each other, we make jokes about each other. It's not we're not sensitive people. But I wouldn't let strangers make the same jokes to me.
Yeah, that would be uncomfortable, especially like because you don't know them. They don't know you are having problems with hearing. What steps did they take? Like, did you get hearing aids right away? Did they ever force you to wear them when you got them?
So I remember getting them in the first grade. So it must have, and I know my parents took the route of getting funding for them because they were so expensive. And so I'm sure that must have taken a year long for that process to be finished. So I'm assuming around kindergarten they started the process of getting them, but they never made me wear them. It wasn't, they didn't care. And not necessarily in a bad way. It was just Jessica's gonna do what she's gonna do, right? But in grade one, I liked them. It was funny. I would play games. I would pretend like if I turned them off, I couldn't hear a thing. And me and my friend would joke, right? And I remember one of the boys in my grade, he would be like talking to me, and I would be like, oh, so annoying. I would pretend to turn it off, and he'd be like, Jessica, Jessica, and I'd be like, like just pretending I couldn't hear him. So I would wear them because it was fun, and I didn't have that sense of shame yet. Yeah. What about you?
Probably. I remember being so excited about getting my hearing aids in grade one. Even my friends would be like, "Oh, I want to try it on." Everyone thought it was so cool, and
Mm-mm.
there was no sense of shame or anything.
Yeah. Good times. Yeah. And that was also when I met
Resource teacher.
resource teacher, our favorite one of our favorite ones.
Our favorite, the high school one.
Yes. That was when I met her. And here was this beautiful young teacher coming in, was fun and had stickers, and it was, it was a good time. So having her really made it feel like it was okay and it was fun and whatever.
I got her in grade one as well. I think she made grade one fun for me as well. Like, I don't think I ever felt any shame in grade one. And then grade two was probably when I got the new teacher who was really mean.
Yeah. Yep. I think we had the same mean one, didn't we?
I think so.
You were very mean to her.
Oh God, yeah. I spat all over her. I had a friend in my class who also was hard of hearing, and she took both of us out of class at the same time. And I think we both didn't like her, so we spat all over her. And after that, she didn't want to take both of us out at the same time.
I can't believe you did that.
I was not always a nice kid, so.
Yeah. But she was very mean to us.
She was.
Very mean.
Like, I'm pretty sure I came out crying, like.
Yeah. She made me cry several times. So I don't even feel bad for her.
No.
I ran into her at the mall one time, and she was saying my name, Jessica, is that you? And I just kept walking, walked right past her. I did not stop.
I saw her when I was working at Target one time, but I don't think she noticed me. I didn't talk to her, and I don't care. So I got my hearing aids in grade one as well, and my parents didn't force me to wear them. But I remember when I would forget to bring them to school. So I had this like educational assistant who had this sticker chart for every single day I remember to bring them. She would give me a sticker, I remember getting so excited, like I would just simply bring my hearing aids to school and I would get a sticker.
I'm trying to remember. It was so long ago.
I know. That was 20 years ago. I don't know if you want me to say that, but you can cut this out if you want.
Maybe.
Parents ever consider learning sign language for you? I know you said they didn't like talk about it, so I'm assuming that.
No, no. I mean, perhaps if I was more severe or completely deaf, I'm sure they would have. Um, but no, I don't think it ever crossed their mind. I don't think it was even really an option if it did, because I was able to function pretty well with and without hearing aids. So I don't think it was an option. Yeah, I kind of wished they would have, maybe in grade 1 when I was still open to it and happy about it. But if they would have suggested it in grade 3, 4, 5, I would not have done it. There's no way.
Yeah.
What about you? I know.
See, I think I've been same here because like I still was able to hear things without my hearing aids. And like I grew up thinking that I was not hard of hearing or anything. Like I was so confused. But had they introduced it to me when I was younger, I would have learned. Because I think it would have helped me learn like the alphabet and how to read, and I think it would have helped me with school in general. Because like I had a hard time following in class. And like when we had those spelling tests, I failed like every single one of them because I couldn't hear the words.
Yeah, it wasn't very inclusive in that way, hey?
Remember in grade 3, I really wanted to pass a spelling test, so I copied off a girl's spelling test, and she told on me, and I got in big trouble, and I cried.
I mean, but how did they expect you to succeed in school if they weren't willing to get creative in the ways that you were taught? Right? I did really bad in elementary school because they did nothing to help me here in the classroom and to learn and retain information. You can't learn and retain information if you cannot hear what is
Like
being said.
I need some like grade 1, 2, 3, like
I think I wore them pretty consistently up until I moved onto a farm where I went to a new school where I knew nobody. I didn't grow up with those kids. And so that's when the shame really took place, and I couldn't admit that I had hearing aids and that I wore them. And I remember one time one of my classmates found out, and she was so nice and like, oh, they came in, you can wear them, how fun. And she was so nice, but the shame was so deep that I just took them from her and hid them, and I never wore them. So I think around grade 7 is when I just stopped wearing them altogether. I was pretty consistent with wearing them, but it doesn't matter because that doesn't fix everything. It doesn't suddenly make you hear everything, especially if you're watching a movie or a video. You can't hear it. They never put captions on for me.
that's.
Nothing. Yeah, never.
Can I remember if they did for me?
I don't I don't know if they were an option back then, were they?
Maybe not. I don't remember.
But I never had them. So if we were watching a movie and we had to write a paper on it, there's no way I could be able to do
So
that because the teacher didn't try, right? I had no options and I was just stuck, and I gave up and I quit trying, and I didn't care about school because I just didn't have the support system I needed. I didn't have it necessarily at home, and I sure didn't have it in school. So I did really bad in elementary school.
did you have that FM system? while you were wearing hearing aids?
No, that became a thing in high school, not necessarily in elementary school for me, I think. I'm trying to remember like grade 7 and 8, and I don't remember them wearing it, so I don't know. But I don't recall them wearing it. Yeah. What about you? Did you have them in elementary school?
Oh yeah, all through elementary school. I'm pretty sure I've had like every different model of FM system. So like when I was in grade 1, we had the wires that would get attached to your hearing aid, and then you put it under your shirt, and it's a box that you attach to your pants. And
Mm.
the teacher also has something similar, except it's a microphone. That was like annoying. And then grade 2 or 3, we got something smaller. It was better, but at that point I was so ashamed, and I tried to use like books. I would literally walk down the hallway holding books against my ears because I didn't want people to see.
How did it feel when you had to hand the teacher the FM box?
Well, I never had to do that until high school. They always
But
had it.
how did you feel about that? Because I remember how I felt about that.
Well, it was always awkward. Like even in college, I hated doing it. Like it was annoying. But then like once the professor knew who I was and knew that I needed it, they would always just end up asking for it if I didn't give it to them. So
Mm,
the
yeah,
first time was always awkward. But then after that, then it was like not a big deal.
I didn't like it at all, ever. I never wanted to hand it to them. And
No.
my classmates, no. That
Remember, I tried to go to school in Saskatchewan after high school, the UMS, and I was supposed to get a new FM system to give to my professors, and I did not want to do that. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't do well in school, because I didn't get the FM system. Worst decision I ever made.
yeah, but to make the point, do you think if we had better support systems at home, that it would have aided us in school and we would have done a lot better? Do you think?
Yes,
Definitely.
definitely.
I think so. I think if my parents were more hands-on type of parents and it was spoken about and they were asking about it and they really were hands-on with it, I think I would have done much better in school.
Me
And
too.
had it been more of a positive thing at home, it would have been more positive for me in school and I would have done better, I think.
Yeah, and like not having my mom tell me she's sorry for me. Um, yeah.
Positive conversations.
I don't think we ever had positive conversations about my hearing. It was just a bad thing.
Yeah. I remember for parent teacher interviews, they would always talk about my hearing and schooling and stuff like that. And they would talk right in front of me. And it was always very negative, right? So I remember hating going to them because
Yeah.
I didn't want to sit next to my parents and my teacher while they spoke back and forth about how bad my hearing was and how I wasn't doing good in school and all this stuff. I hated going to those.
Remember, my mom hated going to parent teacher interviews. I don't know if it was because of that. She didn't tell me why. But this is like a little off topic, but I remember in grade 5, I almost failed. Like, because I didn't really wear my hearing aids much in grade 5. So they were just like, unless you start wearing them more, you're going to fail, basically.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm surprised I finished elementary school because I was in such a depressed state about it that I was so unhappy and I was so unmotivated and I didn't care about school and I didn't hand in assignments because it was so difficult for me because I didn't have a good support system. at home or for school and not combined. So I just didn't care about school.
Remember my resource teacher in grade 8 told me about you, like how she was like worried about you. Yeah.
What did she say?
Like she said that you were putting like really dark makeup on and your resource teacher was trying to like stop you and yeah. So I guess like they both talked about it and then she told me about it.
I did go through not so much a goth phase, but I was learning about makeup, and all the makeup that I had access to was dark, and I just loved it, and it was fun, and I didn't know how to apply it because my mom's not a girly girl necessarily. Uh, and I was just playing with makeup and having fun. And I do remember that day where I got heavy handed with black eyeshadow and I was trying to do a smoky eye.
Oh.
And I was bad at it. I was so bad at it. And they just, I think, blew it out of proportion and thought it was like a bad time. But I was just like, it's makeup. Like, calm down. I'm playing with makeup. But I remember them making it a big deal too. And I was like, why is everybody freaking out about me wearing like makeup? And to the point where one of my resource teacher at the time brought in all her makeup. Well, not a lot, but she brought some of her makeup in. And I brought my makeup in. And she was trying to teach me how to do a smoky eye. And I was like, I thought it was I thought it was really helpful and nice. And I stopped wearing as much black because I was learning how to properly wear it. But I remember them just freaking out about it. And I didn't understand why they were so worked up about it. I was like, what? I'm so confused. They should not have said anything to you. But
What?
they shouldn't really be talking about other students
No.
to other students.
Yeah, that's actually weird to think about. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, but that happens a lot. Teachers talk in front of deaf students as if they're just deaf students, that they can't hear you, they have no feeling, they're not aware, they don't pay attention. There's been so many conversations that have been had in front of me that should not have had been in front of me, right? And it was almost as if deaf little girl right there, she's not going to hear it anyways. I've had a lot of that.
You know how many times I've had that? I'm sure it's happened to me and I didn't know it was happening because,
Yeah.
well, I have to watch conversations to know what's going on.
But you've had teachers have conversations about you to your family and other teachers in front of you, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Right? And that's not a nice feeling when you have two people talking about you in front of you, not including you, not with you, about you. I don't like that. You should never talk about anyone without them with you in the conversation. Yep, nothing about me without me.
I just want to point out that, like, my mom, when I was growing up, like, even up until the day I moved out of her house, she would correct me. Like, if I said a word wrong, she would tell me how to say it. Um, yeah, I hated that. But,
Yep.
like, now that I think about it, it's good that she did that because I probably would have said so many words wrong and not know it.
First of all, I remember how hard you laughed at me when
God.
I said pizza wrong. You and the teacher were laughing at me for so long.
I think I just like low key felt good that you say words wrong like I do because I always felt so dumb when I said words wrong and my mom pointed it out. So I guess like when it happened to you, I don't know. I don't think I meant anything that like
No,
mean about it.
no, I didn't take it. I don't think I took it in like an awful way. You know, my parents never did that, but my older brother Ryan, did that sometimes.
I remember my dad would laugh at me if I said words wrong. But I don't think he like corrected me and told me how to say words correctly.
I'm trying to think. I don't think my brother ever said it in a mean way, but he was just saying. I remember one time Ryan was talking about tattoos, and I said it like tattoo, CH. I don't know. Uh, and he was like, "What?" I was like, "Tattoos. You're gonna get more." And he kept saying, like, trying to teach me how to say it. And I was like, "That's not right. You're wrong. That's not how you say it. It tattoos. It's not tattoo." When I was like a baby, when I was like 5 or 6, I used to say hamburger in a weird way, but they just thought it was the cutest thing, and they're like, say it. Oh, isn't it?
So let's talk about closed captions.
Okay.
So
Oh,
you said you never have had them on growing up.
I never really. I knew they were a thing, but I never really knew they were a thing. So growing up, never, never. The first time I've ever seen it was maybe in school, but never had it on at home ever. School, I don't remember it ever being on. The first time that I ever was like, oh, this is a thing was when I was at your house for like your birthday or something in like the ninth grade. And I was like, huh, it's a thing. Okay. But that was like my first time like really realizing that it was a tool that people could use at home.
Grandma used to come over for sleepovers. I went to the well, and she's kind of hard of hearing just because of her age,
Mhm.
basically. So she always has the closed captions on. And that's what I realized like, oh, those work for me too. So I can use them. So I would start using them at home. And my mom will let me use them while watching TV with her if I did. But if I watched a show by myself and then left them on, she would get mad at me for leaving them on. She will literally like yell at me and be like, "You need to turn them off when you're done." Yeah.
Well, that probably didn't help with your confidence at all either.
So I feel like that gave me a sense of shame about them. Because I remember when, if I went to someone's house and they turned them on for me, like my cousin, my older cousin, who was like 13 years older than me, he would turn them on for me. And I literally got mad at him for turning them on for me, even though like he was just helping me.
Mm.
Like,
What about in school? Was it a thing for you in school?
um, I think I can't remember in elementary school, but high school, I think teachers try to make sure that things were closed captions, but not everything was closed captions. So it's like you always have to try to work around it, or give me transcript or something. But reading a transcript for a video is not always fun.
I've never done that. That was never given to me as an option. Wow.
It happened a lot in college, actually. The transcripts,
Really?
yeah, because like the videos are so old that like nobody would close caption them, so we just gave them. So they just gave me a transcript.
Huh. Do you want to talk about our first experiences at the doctor's office getting tested and everything?
Well, the first experiences aren't very clear, but like I remember the rooms being so like small and dark. Oh yeah, and the button. And I remember there being like the pictures, like cowboy ice cream.
Really? I don't remember that, but I remember the foam walls.
Yeah, I remember that too. Like I remember the audiologist was sitting in the room. I can't. I think my mom might have sat in the room with me at first because, like, I think I was so little and scared, and I didn't know what was going on. But
Yeah.
then after a while, she would go into the other room and watch.
I'm not sure if my mom stayed in the room or not. I do remember the process of them making the molds in the ears.
Yeah, I
I thought
remember
that was cool and
that.
picking the color. I don't remember what my color was for the first one though. Do you?
I think I just got clear. I didn't get a color.
I'm sure I got a color. I think mine was like a marble color, like white and pink maybe. You used to have hot pink. I remember that.
Like I actually started to get color like later in elementary school. Like I got pink and blue.
Hmm.
I remember at one point I got like a sparkly purple, but I think that was after high school.
Oh, I don't. Yeah. What about now? Do you get any colors now? Just
Because
clear?
yeah, like it almost looks like I don't have a hearing aid. It's just
Yeah, I can't see anything. Oh, tiny. Okay. That's cool. Okay, so what about how old were you and what was your first memory of realizing that you were deaf?
I don't think I really have a first memory of realizing I was deaf. I want to say maybe like grade 10, because like I remember realizing that I really needed to wear my hearing aids more because I was having a harder time hearing people than before,
Hmm.
especially after what happened when I was in grade 9, I think, maybe towards the end of grade 9. You remember those red things that you scratch and they explode or whatever? Yeah,
Oh,
like,
on the sidewalk?
yeah, I don't
You
know.
hit rocks or something?
Yeah, but
Okay.
one of my friends took a whole roll and took a rock and smashed it, and it was so loud. My ears were ringing forever. And I always thought that that made my hearing worse. I don't know if it's true or not. But ever since then, I started wearing my hearing aids more.
Oh.
But I always had that sense of shame around being deaf. Like, I still like try to be hearing whenever I could. So when around like 1920, I found this deaf community on Tumblr, and I realized that they were okay with who they are. And so I was like, oh cool, I'm not weird. Like it's fine to be deaf. So
Mm.
that's when I started to accept myself as deaf for part of hearing.
See, interesting you say that. I knew that there was a deaf community for a long time, but I've always just kept myself away from it. Like I knew it was there, but I would walk around it. I would never allow myself to be a part of it. To this day, I still have a hard time trying to be a part of that community because I'm now at the age where I'm finally pulling myself out of the shame of it and accepting it and to say it and to make these videos and to buy a hearing device. Like these are big changes for me that aren't easy. And so I'm still not at the place where I'm, ooh, I have goosebumps. I'm gonna cry. I'm still not at the place where I'm comfortable enough to allow myself to be a part of that community.
So baby steps. I still don't really consider myself a part of it. Like even though I have this, and I've gone to deaf coffee nights and I've met other deaf people, I still don't fully consider myself a part of it. That like I know sign language too, and I can communicate with deaf people using sign language, but I still don't feel like I'm part of it. I just in between.
Do you think it's because you're holding yourself from it? Or do you just think that you just don't fit in? Like what is it?
I feel like I don't know. I never really thought about it. Like whenever I went to Dove Cabinet, I was really shy. Like I didn't really talk to anybody unless they spoke to me first. But
I
I
feel
think
like that
I'm not comfortable with signing. Like I'm still learning how to sign. So like if I'm comfortable with you, I'll sign with you. But if it's a new person, it's so awkward because I'm learning.
yeah. I think you're also though a naturally shy person. You're not the most comfortable in large gatherings. necessarily. I feel like that anyways. I don't know if you are or not.
I don't know. Like I don't know if it's because of like anxiety or something. Like every time I'm meeting new people, I get so scared. I'm like, they may think I'm rude or something. And like every time I went to Duff Coffee Note, I would just talk to the same people every time, unless someone new spoke to me first.
I wonder if we have that where I live,
But
a deaf coffee night. I wonder if we have that here.
maybe I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. But again, if we did have it here, there's no way in heck that I would go. There's
Plus,
no,
you don't have sign language, right? So that would be harder
oh,
for
wait,
me.
is it only like signing?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't be non-signing and go?
Yeah, everybody signs.
Oh,
Like, I was even hearing people and they were signing too.
oh. Well, even if I could sign right now, there's no way in heck I would find myself there. Because to me, what if someone sees me, goes there, and then I have to explain and have the conversation why I'm there? Yeah.
Well, just say I want to learn sign language.
I still don't think I would risk going. I'm not there yet. I'm not comfortable enough to do that yet. No,
Maybe I'll get there one day. Do you think you would?
I hope so, but right now I'm not there. But but maybe if I had you with me, I could lie to myself and convince myself that I'm going there for you. That's how my thinking is. If I was in your city with you and you were like, "Hey, do you want to go there?" I would probably say yes, but in my mind I would convince myself that I'm going for you and to hang out with you and be there for you and be a good friend, but I'm not going for me because I'm not a part of that. That's my thinking.
Yeah, honestly, I'm like the same way. Like, if my friend was not going, I didn't feel comfortable going. Honestly, I'm still going. I feel like I'm still not 100% comfortable with not being able to hear. Like, I still have my days where I can't hear someone, and I think to myself, like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. But really, like, it's just old thinking that I learned, and I am trying to, like, unlearn it, and it takes a long time. So, what's stopping you from being a part of hard of hearing or deaf communities?
I think shame. I don't think I'm fully out of it, to be honest. Uh, I'm not. I would say I'm about 20% confident with it. Yeah, I'm just not confident in that aspect of myself and to verbally say it and to tell people and share that with people and to risk being seen by people who know me and then have to have that conversation. I'm just not out of the shame of being deaf. I'm not comfortable with it. So I think that's really what's holding me from the community and being a part of it.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever, like, used the word deaf? Like, say, like, hey, I'm deaf or whatever, and someone's like, no, you're not. You're hard of hearing because you can still hear and you talk. And
No, but I also don't know the proper terms. So if someone says deaf or hearing impaired, I'm okay with either because I don't know the proper terms.
well, like, hearing impaired is more of like a medical term. But in the deaf community, people don't like that term because it implies that they are broken and that they need to be fixed. That's why the deaf community doesn't use that.
Okay. Where growing up though, deaf was the bad word.
It was. It was like a swear word for me. Like if someone called me deaf, like there was this bully who would call me deaf, and I was like so mad. I would be like, I'm not deaf, I'm hearing impaired. Because like that's what my mom told me. Is there anything else we should need to talk about?
What about denial?
Yeah, so like when I was growing up, I felt like I still had some hearing left. Like I couldn't take my hearing aids out. So like before I put them in for the whole day, I could still hear stuff to a point where like I would forget my hearing aids because I can hear everything around me. So yeah. And then I would wear them all day and then take them out and then all of a sudden my hearing is gone. I can't hear for however long until it comes back again. So I remember saying to my mom, like, why do I wear these? Like I can hear. I'm not hearing impaired. And
For me, I think denial was in the shape of me not talking about it, not saying it, not accepting it, not telling people it, refusing to wear hearing aids. I think that for me was denial.
but I just wanted to point out that when a parent gets well, like when their child is diagnosed as deaf or hard of hearing, even if they decide to get hearing aids or a cochlear implant, they should always consider sign language and learn it for them so that their kid can learn as well because it would be helpful for them growing up. And also, don't feel bad for your kid being hard of hearing or deaf because it's not a bad thing. We can still do things that everyone else can do, but here we're fully capable of anything. And that's also another thing I didn't realize. I also thought that I needed hearing to be successful in life. I remember always like thinking, how will I get a job? How can I do this if I can't hear like the way other people can?